Yeah, anyways, Nick Brooks, bro, thanks for being in here. Just to pick up on the conversation we were at, just starting off with the podcast, really just getting going and like talking to whoever's willing to come and chill and hang out. I was down to talk to, but now people are starting to notice it. I'm like trying to be more strategical with the guests moving forward.
Oh man, well it's awesome. I feel very honored that you've had me on.
Yeah, bro. Well, I mean, obviously we've met through a mutual friend of ours, Paul Harrington.
Yeah, Paul is amazing dude, right? I've been very lucky. I feel very lucky that he came into my life and that we found each other. We've been working together for about a year and a half, and it's been a really amazing experience.
Yeah, he's likewise. I feel honored and lucky to have met and being able to pick up the phone and call him if I have any questions with life or business. How did you guys how did you guys meet?
So actually, Paul just found me online, and I'd written a book about cricket before, which probably sounds super weird to you right now because cricket is not really a thing in America. So I moved to Sri Lanka, where cricket is a massive thing. It's actually kind of a big part of their national identity. It's like probably the one thing that Sri Lanka really excels at on a global scale, except for making tea, which they're also great at. So, but no one had really written about it. So I moved to Sri Lanka for a couple of years and wrote a book about cricket there. Which did kind of better than I'd anticipated. I mean, it actually turned into a book, which was an amazing thing in the first place because I thought it was just going to be like a Word document on my laptop forever. But it won a couple of awards. And then Paul saw a kind of writing profile that I had online and got in touch. I'd done a bit of ghostwriting before, but I was kind of like a little bit tentative because working with clients can be tricky, right? But as soon as I heard the first part of his story, I was just totally entranced, man. It's a really cool personal story. I mean, he's lived the most wild life, and I feel like his life kind of like encapsulates a lot of what's been going on in broader British social history over the past
Mm.
50 years. And he's an original raver. I like a little rave myself. And, just I thought I found it incredibly inspiring. He was, had a really damaging cocaine addiction in his late 40s and early 50s, which I think is a stage of life where like I don't know, when people think about drug users they think about younger people generally. Like the
Yep.
common thinking is that by that stage you're out of the woods, right? If it hasn't got you by now you're probably okay, which I thought was a
Yeah.
really interesting angle of Paul's story, that his life kind of broke down in that way at a later stage when you're supposed to have your shit a bit more figured out. And then he's managed to get his life together in the most incredible way through exercise. And I mean, you've seen the guy, Noah. He is absolutely shredded, right? At 59. I'm 35. So he's almost double my age and he's in twice as good shape. So, like, yeah, there's so much about that story that inspired me. It didn't feel like he was a client, like, it just felt like he was a friend. And I'm sure like you guys had long conversations over the phone about all sorts, about life. And I guess the nature of the book, it's so personal and it touches on so much stuff, means that we've kind of got to know each other in a deeper way, to I guess clients in the past. And I mean, the guy can write, and he got better at writing really fast once we
Mm.
started working on the book. And I think from the very start had a really strong sense of his voice, which mixes a bit of like a little bit of geezer, a little bit of wisdom. And it's been an amazing project, man. I'm very lucky to have had it land on my doorstep.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and it's very well said too. Everything you said is 100% true. The guy is has an amazing story and is an animal when it comes to training. And I actually did some premeditated questioning for this. I reached out to Paul to ask some specific questions for you, Nick. So the first
All right,
question
hit
I
me,
had
man.
from Paul Harrington, I wish I could put the audio file into it right now. Maybe I will in the editing. But one of the questions from Paul, he's wondering, you've been going out to Ibiza a lot lately. He said that he's pretty sure why you're going out there, but he's curious to know, what is your favorite club to go to in Ibiza?
He knows the answer, man. It's DC-10. Every time I'm on the island, it's straight to DC-10, right by the airport, and it's a really, really special place. I know Paul loves it too because it's so close to the airport. That you get the planes flying super low overhead in the open air part of the club. So if you're there till kind of 5, 6 in the morning, you start to see these planes coming in low, and the sound they make it rumbles through your body. It's really incredible. But DC-10, yeah, special club, especially the night they run on Mondays, Circa Loco, which is like, I guess, kind of transcends the house music scene. It's just like, it's an amazing thing. And they take it around the world. So check them out on Instagram because they might be coming to your city. I've seen they've been in New York recently. They're going to Melbourne. They're going to New Delhi and Mumbai. They're all over the place.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, Circle Loco at DC-10. If you're in Ibiza, check it out. And if one of their nights comes to a place near you, make sure to go.
Yeah, definitely. I've never been to Ibiza myself, but if I ever do, DC-10 is on the list
DC-10's
of
the one,
stops.
man. Forget these the big fancy super clubs. That's a real place.
Okay, cool. Well, that kind of leads me into like my next, not even question. I'm really just curious is like where where are you from? Where do you live and how I'm always curious like how people can just travel the world. You say you were in Sri Lanka. Obviously Paul is in London, so I assume that you had some time in London, Ibiza, all over it, bro. How do you like how does that work?
So yeah, man, I'm from South London, and I grew up here in South London. I'm still here, basically in the little part of London where I grew up, which is Brooklyn. Uh, I'm one of these people who's like, I don't know if I'm just lazy or I'm a loyalist, but I feel like if I moved to any other part of London, I'd be cheating on my little neighborhood, which I love. It's changed as all places do. Uh, but it's still home. And
Right.
in terms, I guess, more broadly, Noah, I'm a quarter Jamaican. On my mum's side, that's where my parents live. So I've spent a lot of time there growing up, going to visit relatives, and now visiting my parents, and my brother and his wife live out there. So I guess that like experience always kind of made me want to see more of the world. Like, when I was growing up, going to Jamaica were the happiest times. I just associated that place with sunshine and great food and family vibes and just pure joy, I guess. And so that stayed with me. I love traveling, I love going to new places. Sri Lanka was kind of inspired by that. I had this opportunity to go and write a book there, and I was just like, I can't spend my whole life being in London. I want to go and see other parts of the world, and being dropped somewhere where, the culture was so distinct from how it is in the United Kingdom, where I knew no one, where
Right.
everything was basically completely different, was just the most incredible experience and hit me at a really great time, I think, man. I was 27 when I
Mm,
moved there, and it was all kind of perfect. I think at that age, you're kind of old enough to have a sense of who you are and understand the world, but young enough that you don't have any responsibilities and you're not kind of scared by
right.
things. And you just like throw
Yeah.
yourself in head first. And like, I lived at this school where I was teaching at, and the room where I was living in was like, it was pretty unsalubrious, man. It only had, like, rock cold showers. The mattress was
Mm.
kind of this thick. The mosquito net over my bed had huge holes in it. And I mean, if you showed me that room now, I'd probably say thanks, but no thanks. But when you're young and you're excited and you're on an adventure, you're just kind of like, I'll throw myself into this.
Right. No, that's how I am too. That's my mindset. And even though I'm 30 now, I probably should start to reframe this, but I still think like that, like a little caught on the ground, like
Dude, it's the best way to be, right? And I think actually going through that experience also makes you realize that you get like used to living without your creature comforts pretty quickly. And like, I love my own bed. And my TV at the bottom of my bed, and everything's comfy and laid out the way I like it. But we're so adaptable and malleable as human beings that really you can throw us into anything and you just get on with it, right?
yeah. Hopefully, I know there's some people out there that wouldn't just get along with it as well as maybe someone like you and I do, but I think you kind of touched on it. It's like a not I wouldn't say the word skill set, but it's like a hidden superpower that we have to just go anywhere, be malleable, and just kind of like move like water And at the same token, it kind of, at least for me personally, now that I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize I kind of had a lot of travel going up as well. But it makes you realize, like, if you go to this place, that all the little things and the materialistic things that you have back home don't really matter. What matters is where you're at. Obviously, you got to have some type of phone or internet connection and some finances. But other than that, man, it's like all you really need is just people, a place to live, and like stuff to do. As much as I love doing these podcasts virtually, I much rather sit down and talk to somebody one on one in person. I can look at them, I can feel the energy that they're giving off, and it's just a better vibe. So if you know anybody that would be interested or that would be a good guest for the podcast show, please get us in contact, put us together, or just relay them my information. I would love to sit down and talk to them. And with that, I will continue to do my best to improve my podcasting skills and my interviewing skills to one day bring on bigger guests that you would love to see me collab with.
Totally, man. And, you know, it's very easy to get caught up in the material, and it's kind of natural, right? And everyone does it to a greater or lesser extent. But as you touch on, Noah, you don't need a lot more than simplicity, right? If you've got good weather, good food, good people, if you're surrounded by nature, like, I think those are the times when you're the happiest.
Yeah. And a good environment too. I think that plays a big role into all those things is your environment. If everybody's around you is like,
100%, man.
hustle culture, new things, and there's a new sale going on. Like you just, it's hard to stay away, but just like I think just the human mind is, if your environment's this way, you kind of over time you just become that, I guess.
100% agree, man. And not just like your environment, but your own mindset, right? The way that you
Mhm.
approach things, and that can ebb and flow. But I think, yeah, the way that you approach things, your perspective can have a real influence.
Yeah, absolutely. And just I've never been to Jamaica, but from the outside looking in, it looks like it's just a big vibe. What are some like what are something about Jamaica that somebody like me has never been there would be surprised to know about?
Man, it's a huge vibe. And shout out to everyone in Jamaica, because people are having a really tough time at the moment after Hurricane Melissa. What's something about Jamaica
Hold
that
on,
you
sorry to
really
cut
want
you
to
off,
know?
Nick. What's going on with Hurricane? I'm not familiar.
Oh man, there was a huge hurricane hit last week, week before last now, maybe no. It was Category 5 hurricane which hit Jamaica head on. It was really, really
Jeez.
devastating, man. Actually, the eye of the storm passed about 3 or 4 miles from my parents' house. So they're still without internet, they're still without running water, they're still without power, but they're some of the lucky ones, man. A lot of people have been displaced from their homes, and sadly it struck the south coast head on, St. Elizabeth, which is known as the breadbasket of Jamaica, where they produce a lot of food. So Jamaica's agriculture, which already wasn't in the best place, is going to be really hard hit. And yeah, we're still kind of finding out. My mum and my brother haven't had
Damn,
4G
man.
regularly, so I haven't really been in touch with them too much. They get it, and it comes and goes in and out, but they're doing okay. They were lucky. My auntie had the roof of her house blown off, so that's a pretty crazy situation. But people are really suffering there at the moment. So, yeah, sending thoughts and prayers to everyone in Jamaica. I'll be there in early December and hope I can
Yeah,
do a
absolutely.
little
And it's kind
something,
of
even if I
weird
can,
that
to help.
yeah, and it's kind of weird that they don't like not advertise, but they don't show that in like an American media. Like I go to the gym, and the gym that I go to has like 10 TV screens on the wall, and they're all like different news channels, different CNBC, all those news channels. And as I'm in there, I just kind of glance and look at the headlines, and I feel like they should bring some attention to the people in Jamaica.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things right now. The news organizations, they love to show it like when the hurricane hits. It's that one day where it's like it's their real excitement. They're like, the storm of the century, the perfect storm. But then, of course, the real worry is what comes after, right? When your infrastructure is
Mm,
destroyed, when people's homes get blown away. And yeah, I think that focusing on that rebuilding process isn't as glamorous as the idea
Right.
of this huge storm charging through the ocean. But yeah, I hope that it gets a little bit more coverage and that people are aware. I mean, there's so much bad shit going on in the world, but Jamaica's right on America's doorstep, right? And yeah, the people there need help. And yeah, especially, I mean, I'm biased, but it's a very special place, man. As you say, it's got a real energy. And I think in terms of a tiny island, its population's 3 million. When you look at its like
Wow.
global footprint in terms of culture, I mean, from, reggae to dance hall, through to like the influence that it's had on, I guess, like modern British music. Now you look at genres like grime and jungle, which are heavily Jamaican
Yeah.
influenced. Athletically, you've got Usain Bolt, and a whole host of like amazing sprinters. Its cuisine is now really kind of taking flight and getting more broadly known around the world. Like dishes like jerk chicken and curry goat and oxtail
Mm.
patties, all sorts of good stuff. So,
Yeah.
and even in language, man, there's so much stuff in British slang, especially, but I know it. Has worked its way into Canadian slang because I think Toronto's got a big Jamaican community. All kinds of these borrowings of phrases from Jamaican patois. So, yeah, I always say to people who I know that I don't think there's anywhere else in the world that's quite like Jamaica that is so tiny but has such a huge global influence. And yeah, so yeah, it's a very special place. I feel very lucky that I get to spend some time there. Not least, man, because England in the winter is absolutely miserable. It got dark about 4 o'clock today, so to get to go and see my family and see some sunshine in the winter is yeah, a real blessing.
Yeah, that sounds awesome, bro. I wish I could go out there with you. When you go
Oh,
to
you're always
Jamaica,
welcome, man.
dude, don't be surprised. Like I'm the guy. I'll tell my wife I might pack up and be like, I got some connections in Jamaica. We're gonna go get some cultural diversity into us, which I think is important for people to do. I want to do more of that, just experience different cultures and how different
Yeah,
people live because we're so
it's great, and actually,
Americanized.
it's really sad that you. It's interesting you touch on that, Noah, because like, there's a huge all-inclusive culture in Jamaica, which is kind of destroying the island. Because 90% of tourists go, they land at the airport, they get bused to their hotel, which has huge gates keeping everyone else out, and then they just stay there for the whole week. They hit the beach, but they could kind of be at a beach anywhere in the world, and it's sad that a lot of tourists who go don't get to engage with the culture a bit more.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Is it dangerous out there or like
It is.
Mexico nowadays is like Americans are scared to go to Mexico because of the violence.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't lie or deny the fact that there are crime issues in Jamaica, but I think on the whole for tourists it's pretty safe. I think the industry's just developed that way, and now it's kind of in hotels' interests to keep people in where they buy everything within the hotel. There are more and more, I guess, kind of like boutique hotels opening up. I think there's more people who are realizing that you can go rent a car, drive around, because I mean,
Yeah.
Jamaica does have a reputation for criminality, but in my experience, I mean, I can think of the negative interactions that I've had. I can count them on one hand, and I've been going my whole life. Like
Mm.
99% of people are the loveliest, warmest people you'll come across, and are like just so happy for tourism because it's a huge boost for the island.
Yeah. Interesting. And don't take this the wrong way. I'm just curious. How does a white dude from London get going on in Jamaica? Like obviously you have like kind of like a Jamaican vibe and I can hear a little bit of the accent, but like just curious, like white dude from London and
Oh yeah.
Jamaica, like is it all cool?
Um, yeah, like downtown Montego Bay, you get people asking you some questions, but
Yeah.
it's funny, like, because since I've had the long hair, when it was a bit longer and got a bit locked, and I'd occasionally get people shouting to me, "You're Rasta," which I always loved. That made me feel great about myself.
Yeah.
And then the other day, someone called me Jesus, which was a new one. He said, he actually said, wasn't it you who died on the cross for our sins? Just a random dude came up to me on the street and he was like, yo, Jesus. So yeah, that gives you a little insight into the kind of comedy that you get. And it's one of those places where you go and like everyone is just so vibrant, so full of life that I feel like I laugh a lot when I'm there. And
Mm,
that's always good for the soul, right?
absolutely. Yeah, no. So if anybody's going out to Jamaica, grow your hair out as long as possible before you go. And you get called Rasta. You just feel like at home. No, that's sweet. I want to go out to Jamaica one day. You see online just so many cool things. And again, like for me, I see like the dancing and the parties and the oh,
Yeah,
bumba God.
incredible party culture. But oh, so yeah, when you first asked me, no, if there's something that would surprise you, obviously Jamaica's known for its hedonism, right? Jamaicans love to drink, they love to
Mm,
smoke, but they also love to worship. It's got the most churches and the most
mm.
bars of anywhere in the world per square mile, or so I'm informed. That might be debunked by someone, but as far as I know, Jamaica, everywhere every corner you pass, there's a church and there's also a little shop selling beer.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's yeah, the story is your story is just getting better and better. But I want to touch on the book a little bit because I one day I would love to write a book. The last guest I had on the podcast, Tony Will, she's in the process of writing her own book. She did a TEDx talk, and now she's writing the book. And like you've had some experience. What is the like? How do you start writing a like? How does somebody start writing a book? Do you just get paper and a pencil and you just start writing? Do you connect with somebody like yourself to get some advice? How does that process begin?
I think it's different for everyone, but I think that if you feel like you can write it, people always say everyone's got a book in them. And I think like the writing process, no matter what you're writing about, is always kind of like cathartic or linked to something, that feeling that you've like got to get something out. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
That kind of
hmm
sense of expunging something that's part of you. In my case, I was really lucky. I met a mentor who was an established writer when I was pretty young. And he said, you should think about writing a book about cricket in Sri Lanka because no one's done it. I've always wanted to do it. And now I'm too old and I don't really have the time. So he put the idea into my lap, which in
mm,
many ways is kind of the hardest part, striking on what you want to write about. And then for me, I'd had some experience as a journalist before, so I guess I slightly knew the lay of the land, but I just started talking to people, interviewing people who knew about the subject, recording the conversation, making notes. And then once I felt like I started to know enough, I just started writing. Mine was, I mean, I guess the first book I wrote was kind of easy because it was a history of cricket in Sri Lanka. So
mm,
there's kind of a roadmap laid out for you, right? You know that it started, say, in 1830, and that the book's going to run to 2014, and that in between there are all these points that you've got to touch on. So if you're
mm,
writing nonfiction, often you'll have that kind of framework laid out for you. If not, sometimes you have to build that framework yourself, and that's really important, right? Uh, when you're a kid at school and you're writing essays, they always tell you that you got to plan it. And like, I'm not a huge
mm,
planner in terms of writing books, but I think that you to have that overall vision, to know where you're starting and to know where you're going, is really important. But it's a dynamic process and it changes as you move with it, as you grow with it. And yeah, there's always like interesting stuff that happens or changes on the way. I don't think books ever turn out exactly how you plan them. They kind of take on a life of their own, but I think that's part of the beauty of it.
mm. Interesting. So, wow, it kind of fell in your lap, kind of like the Paul situation. So you never played cricket before, didn't have any interest in cricket. The guy was just like, "You should
No,
write."
I,
Just
I
look it up.
I love cricket, man. And
Okay.
so actually, I played when I was a kid. I did English at university, and then I was one of these students who was kind of just having a good time. I wasn't too focused about where I was going to go with my life, and I always felt like it would just fall into place. Yeah. Uh, and then I got out of uni with an English degree. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just knew that I'd always loved creating. I'd been in bands and stuff when I was a kid, and I loved writing, I loved reading, and so I was like, I'm gonna write stuff. So initially I tried to write films and TV shows.
Wow.
I worked at a like film agency briefly doing a script reading job, which was great. I got to read loads of scripts, and that kind of gave me a little insight. But it's a tough world to break into, and I managed to get some stuff I'd written in front of producers, but they weren't ready to take the punt on what I was pitching on an unknown
Mhm.
writer. And so after a couple of years, I've been doing, I guess, jobs that I didn't really want to do to kind of support this process. So like I worked at a coffee shop, I sold insurance over the phone. And then when I had time off, I was just writing. And after a few years, I sort of got fed up, I guess. And I had this feeling of like, I'm a good writer. Why aren't I paid to be doing what to be performing my craft, right? So
Right.
I started applying for jobs. Then I got a job doing some like for a travel company who also did work with some brands. And so I started writing like, I guess, like travel stuff and a bit of copy for luxury brands, which was
Mm.
it was interesting. It was different, and it definitely taught me new skills. It gave me really great insights into dealing with clients, corporate clients, especially who are, I guess, the most difficult, who tell you they don't know what they want, but they hate your shit. So go and do something else. And like, yeah, they're like, we've got this vision, and then you try and do something, and they're like, no, it's not that. Just give us like this. So yeah, that was insightful. But I guess once the novelty of getting paid for your work wore off, which was a huge thing, and actually seeing my work published was also a huge thing. So, but then I kind of had this epiphany of why am I selling stuff with my words? That isn't why I wanted to do this in the first place. I wanted to do this to write about stuff that I love
Mm.
and to tell stories that I'm interested in and to like contribute something artistically or I don't not necessarily artistically, but to just contribute something interesting to the world. And so it was like incredibly circuitous. No, so I went from unpaid, unhappy, paid, unhappy, back to unpaid, unhappy.
Wow.
Got a job at a like little sports magazine, and just started writing stuff about cricket, which was something I loved, something that like was I guess a big bond for me and my dad. We watched a lot of cricket together, and yeah, then it came and it like once it once I realized that I could also combine like travel with sports writing and like digging into history, I don't know, it just felt like a kind of like a perfect storm. And uh, the project, as soon as it was handed in my lap, just like I had that light bulb moment where I was like, this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Wow.
And then when I was doing it, I had nights after nights where I banged my head against the wall and I was like, why have I ended up doing this stupid book? But I loved it, man. I wouldn't change anything about it. And yeah, it was a great experience.
Damn, that's crazy. What age were you when you first started writing the book, and how long did it take to finish it?
So I think we had this conversation when I was about 26. I kind of sat on it for a while without doing anything. Then I moved to Sri Lanka just before my 28th birthday. I was there for a couple of years. I came back when COVID struck because it was hard being there by myself during COVID.
Mhm.
And then the book was submitted to publishers like I think at the end of 21, but then because of COVID, they had all kinds of backlogs, so it was slow to be released. So the process from start to finish was, I guess, like 16 to 22. So it was a good 6 year process. Most of the writing
Wow.
happened over probably 2.5 years, but it's a big, big book. It's kind of probably pushing 500 pages. And I had no idea what I was doing. So my original draft was twice as long. It was 340,000 words, which is completely unpublishable.
Jesus.
Uh, yeah, man. Like, and actually, in this very room where I'm writing from, I was in not a great place. I'd just broken up with a girlfriend actually, and I had 5 weeks to the deadline. And in that time, I had to get rid of half of my book and still
Damn.
make it make sense. So I sat in my bed, feeling pretty sorry for myself after a breakup, drinking loads of coffee and just deleting swathes of text which had been like lovingly crafted over days and deleted in seconds. So that taught me something, that you've got to be conscious of how many words you're writing, and there's no point spending hours and hours writing shit that you're going to end up deleting. I
Mm,
still joke that I'm going to release the director's cut one of these days. Uh,
please,
if I
please
can find
do.
enough paper to print it on.
Yeah, 3,000 words or 300,000 words is crazy, bro. That's crazy. 6 years to write a book. How do you like? How do you manage to like keep track of all of like the recordings and the videos and the notes and like 6 years of just like keeping up with something in general, especially like precious paper and all these things. Like for me, I have a project, like I do video work, and if the video is like weeks ago, I'm already like, oh shit, I forgot where I'm at and where the file's at. So like the fact that you can keep up with all that for 6 years, man, how did you do it?
Oh man, I guess you learn as you go, and sometimes you learn the hard way, right? So actually, after I'd submitted the book to the publishers, I don't know if you read a lot of non-fiction books now, but sometimes at the end they just have like a select bibliography, right, which tells you what
Mm.
books they've used in their research. So I thought that was what I was going to do. Turned out my publisher had a different idea. They were like, we need every fact that you've taken from another source to be properly referenced in like academic style, and I'd kept nothing. Uh, so I had to basically like posthumously, that's not the right word, but after writing, go back and reference this book without no idea where I'd got stuff from. So I was,
Damn.
thankfully I've got kind of like a not quite a photographic memory, but if I'd taken a quote, I could remember on the whole what book it was from, and then I could remember where roughly in that book it was. But it was like I was searching for a needle in a haystack over and over and
Wow.
over again. And sometimes websites will just disappear. So I'll have taken something from a website and then I'll bang that phrase into Google and nothing's coming up. So that was a learning process, man. That was so tough that I had to quit the job that I was doing at that time. And it took me 2 months of working all day, every day just to get the referencing done.
Wow,
Uh,
bro.
so I've learned now when I'm doing books that if you do it as you go along, it takes like 2 seconds per reference and everything's a lot smoother when you get to the end.
Dang, man. Just hearing more about this book makes it more special. Like all these little things that you went through during this process. It
It's
has to feel
interesting, right?
good.
Like, and yeah, it felt great. Actually, it's funny you say that because like, I loved it when I was writing the book and I didn't really think about it. People are always like, aren't you anxious about how it's going to be received? And I never
Mm,
really had any of that until I saw it in the flesh, until like
mm.
I felt the book in my hand and it was huge, which I hadn't realized how big it was going to be because obviously you don't really get a sense from a Word document, right? And then I
Right.
held this thing in my hand, this hulking book, and I was kind of like, oh shit, people are going to read this. And
Yeah.
it's completely unreadable. And I remember that first weekend I had like the box of books in my living room. I had this just kind of churning anxiety in my stomach because
Oh,
it sounds clever when you tell people you're writing a book, and
it
then
sounds good.
the proof is in the pudding, as we say in England. Once they can read it, then they realize that maybe you're not so clever after all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went and I looked at it. It's on Amazon, which is like that's cool. That's cool as fuck, honestly. Like you got a book that's on Amazon, people can go and buy it. Obviously it's like a digital, so I didn't see how thick that thing was. But I imagine
Um,
it's a
yeah, it's a big boy. Do you want me to get you a copy now? I'll show you.
yeah, brother, let's do it.
Give me 2 secs. It's on my bookshelf.
Yeah. That's awesome because again, like Nick said, I do believe as well, everybody has a book in them, whether it's through life experiences, successes, even downfalls. Like people like to read about other people's downfalls.
There you are.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
Damn, and that book is the history of cricket.
History of cricket in Sri Lanka. Yeah. So like it talks about
Wow.
everything that's happened in the islands cricket going right back. Yeah, from the I guess 1796 I start really loosely when the East India Company washed up on Sri Lanka's shores and then it runs through to 2014 And I really liked the kind of the sociological aspect of it, that cricket's a very important thing to Sri Lanka, and so how it relates to the island's history more broadly, how the island's history is kind of refracted through cricket. And then just like the characters, sports people are often interesting, and they often live like really colorful lives. And so
Yeah.
getting to dig into lots of those was very cool. Yeah, there was some amazing stories, and I was really incredibly lucky with the access that I got as well. People on the whole were so welcoming, and were, like, come into my home, let me tell you all my stories, and then who else can I put you in touch with? And when you're writing nonfiction, that's huge, because like the product rests on the information that you've got, and that always comes from other people. So I always say that like the acknowledgements are the most important pages, and although it's my name on the front, like the 100 or so people who contributed to it were all equally important. It couldn't have come into life without them.
Wow. Damn, that's awesome, bro. And that's really cool on your part to give that acknowledgement to the people. Cause yeah, like you said, it's kind of your name's on the cover, but really all these other people kind of help facilitate and bring it to life.
Yeah, and so many people, I think it's one of those things that you don't fully consider until uh you come to write, that you're so reliant on the kindness of strangers,
Mm.
right? And you call someone up, or you get someone's email and you say, can you have a chat to me? And that can go so many different ways, right? They can flat out say no, they can say yes and say like, you've got 15 minutes of my time, and give you kind of stock answers that they've thrown out to journalists their whole life. Or you can have situations where, like I was incredibly lucky. So, for example, one guy, Mahela Jayawardene, a cricketer who I grew up watching, kind of idolized the way he batted when I was a kid. He said to me, "Oh, I've blocked out the afternoon so we can talk," and we ended up chatting for 3.5 hours. And like, you don't get much better than that, right? Someone who knows everything about what you're researching, and who you have so like, admired for like your whole life, giving you that kind of time and sharing their wisdom with you. That like is something that I'll always be grateful for, and will like remember as long as I live.
Damn, that's sick, bro.
Yeah,
That's
so that was very cool. Like yeah, and especially, yeah, like getting to meet lots of people who I grew up watching on TV was like that was a cool part of it.
yeah. Dang. Well, that's a big ass book, Nick, and I probably not the best demographic reader for that kind of large textbook. But can you give us like a quick summary of like the history of cricket, like how it started in Sri Lanka, some of maybe like the interesting parts, and then where it's at today? Because I'm curious. I see that it's getting bigger on social media. Like the videographers out there do a really good job of like making the sport look fun and entertaining. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying like through just the phone, they make it where it's like, I want to watch more of that.
Yeah, it's growing fast, and actually it's like tiptoeing its way into America with Major League Cricket MLC, which is a tournament that they run now in Dallas
Wow.
every year that gets some big stars. It's only on for a couple of weeks, but there's definitely a push to bring cricket to America. In Sri Lanka, it was like, as it was in lots of parts of the world, really tied to colonialism, right? The like British came and looked to plunder the whole world's resources and kind of like instill the people with British values. And cricket was a really big
Mhm.
part of that. That it was supposed to kind of impart ideals like, gentlemanly spirit and fair play, that ironically the British were shoving down people's throats while they were robbing them blind. But
Wow.
so at first it was like played in kind of like the anglicized schools, and it was like a very small thing that was played by the upper middle class, especially in Colombo, which is the capital. And it's kind of like cricket in Sri Lanka developed like nowhere else in the world. It's super random. So there's something called the International Cricket Council, which is kind of like it's hard to explain in American terms, but it basically binds the sport together globally. It's like
Okay.
I guess the international, the IOC would be something that like Americans could latch onto easily. That's like similar, the International Olympic Committee or whatever it's called. But basically, like if you're in the International Cricket Council, you get to play all the other teams, you're invited to the World Cups, all that kind of stuff. It's like FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
But Sri Lanka were out that for a long time, right up until the 80s. And so they kind of relied on the kindness of other teams to play them. In the early days, they were super lucky because it just so happened that ships traveling between England and Australia would stop in Sri Lanka. So every ship that went between England and Australia stopped in Sri Lanka. That was like England and Australia historically is the biggest cricket series. So the players would always stop in Colombo for a couple days and then play these games against the local dudes before they carried on their journey. And so that
Wow.
kind of I guess nourished like Sri Lanka's cricket imagination, and it started to produce like one-off amazing cricketers. There were a couple of guys in the 30s who were like world class, even though they had no real access and they didn't have much competition. But so like it's kind of this quest story, right? That this quest for recognition throughout history. They finally got that recognition in the 1980s, which was like a really bad time for Sri Lanka beyond cricket when it fell into like this merciless civil war, which raged for close to 30 years and was just incredibly
Jesus.
destructive and deadly. But so I found that there was this kind of like interesting juxtaposition, which was that like where life in Sri Lanka got really difficult for a lot of people, cricket provided this kind of unique
Mm.
form of escapism. And then the team started to get really good. They won the World Cup in 1996, which was just like a total underdog story. No one expected them to do it, and no side has kind of like I think in the history of cricket risen from a kind of minnow to world champions so fast. And then off the back of that, they produced some really like incredible generations of cricketers through the noughties and the 2010s. They've fallen off a little bit now, but they're kind of coming back. But it's like this thing that if you go to Sri Lanka, cricket is just everywhere.
Wow.
The last time I was there, I got in a tuk-tuk and there was a test match on, and the driver like had his phone on the windshield and was just watching the cricket, kind of half watching the road, which is like exciting and terrifying in equal measure.
Yeah. Dang, man, that's kind of awesome that you have, in my eyes, like you have some involvement in that history and making it grow. Do cricket players, are they like professional athletes, just like a soccer player or a football player?
They are now, but for a long time they weren't. So it was really cool to bring some of the stories to light of like the guys who've been forgotten and
Mm.
who, you know, were maybe like working in a bank or working in a tea tasting company and would like sacrifice advancement at their work so they could play cricket for Sri Lanka and so they could get the country onto the world stage. And there's some amazing, amazing stories from those days of, you know, the kind of tours they used to take. Like they'd go on tour to India and there was the cricket board gave them no money to survive. So they'd have to kind of beg, steal, and borrow their way through these cricket tours. There's, yeah, some incredible stories, man. And,
Wow.
but now they are professional athletes like soccer players, and cricket's actually the because it's so popular in India. It's the second biggest sport globally after soccer, and now there's the salaries are starting to get like huge. So the highest paid cricketers, not quite on like you know the NBA or the English Premier League level, but they're getting there.
Wow. That's awesome. Damn. Cricket, man. I'm gonna have to do my research and get up to cricket and see if there's any cricket in my area. And
Check it out, man. It's like baseball but better.
baseball, yeah, that's what it looks like. It looks like baseball, but more fun, less standing around doing nothing. Baseball is like, I played a lot of sports growing up: soccer, football, basketball, hockey, skateboarding, snowboarding. Never touched baseball just because, like, maybe my ADHD brain, there's just too much. From the outside looking in, there's just a lot of standing around, and like, you got to have good patience to play baseball.
Yeah, man. And I think people would have like traditionally said that about cricket. So like the old school form of cricket now, which is called a test match, that actually goes on for 5 days. So
Dude,
you've got to have, yeah, man, 5 days and it's
5
all day long for 5 days. So they start at 11 o'clock at the morning and then they'll break for lunch at 1 o'clock. Then they'll go back, they'll break for tea at like 4 o'clock, and then they play through till 6 o'clock in the evening for 5 days straight. But they've invented like a shorter version in the last 20 years that the game start to finish is like 3.5 hours, and there's a lot
Okay.
more action. So that is kind of, I think, helping it to connect with a new audience that like don't want to sit around for 5 days and follow a game. But I love the long games, man. It's like a TV series compared to a 30-minute episode of Friends. Like it
Yeah.
allows the narratives to kind of grow and develop, and you get involved with the game. And yeah, it's a cool thing.
Yeah. Damn, 5 days. For as an athlete, that must be awesome. And as a super fan, that is totally awesome. Like in my head, if there was an F1, like I like F1 racing. If there was an F1 race that lasted 5 days, bro, I would love that so much. And the players and the athletes, in order to play at the high level for 5 days, there must be like some funding and like they don't have to worry about their food and or do they like within the
No,
5 days they
no.
still go to work?
They no, so now like so they know they're just there for the 5 days, and they get
Okay.
yeah, they get taken care of real nice. But actually,
Yeah.
like, so it's like baseball, right? So one team bats and then the other team bats.
Okay.
Uh so of that 5 days, you spend quite a bit of time off the field, and like one team might bat for 2.5 days. So if you bat first and then you're out, you're kind of just sitting in the changing room or sitting on the balcony. They flash to the players, and they're there like reading the newspaper or whatever. It's
Yeah. Damn, that's awesome, bro. 5 days. That's I didn't know. Obviously, I'm learning. That's why I'm so interested. I'm learning more about this cricket thing. I never would have guessed. Obviously, there's a more digestible form of play now with the 3 hours. But wow, that's
But yeah,
dope,
the
man.
5 days is the real deal, and that's the one the purists still love.
Yeah. Are you still involved? I know you're moving around a lot. Do you still try to play cricket, or are you involved, or keep connections with some of the people you're referencing when writing the book?
Sorry, I lost you for a second, Noah.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. Like now, years later, after the book's gone, you move around a lot. Do you still try to play cricket, or do you still stay connected to some of those people
I
that you use as a research when you're writing the book?
Yeah, totally, man. So I'm still like pretty involved in Sri Lankan cricket specifically. I do a Sri Lankan podcast with some good friends of mine. And I'm writing another book about cricket at the moment, which is like a biography of an Indian player. So that was cool. That took me to Ahmedabad in India, which is somewhere that I probably would not have gone to if I didn't like if work didn't take me there. So that's always cool, when like work takes you
Yeah,
somewhere random that you wouldn't necessarily have found yourself as a tourist. I try and play, but like you said about baseball, man, it takes a long time, and the fielding is the part I can't get on board with, because like you can be stood around in the field for 3-4 hours largely doing nothing, and you so like if you agree to play cricket, it comes to like dominate your weekend. So I
yeah.
try and play a couple times in the summer, and then go to like what we call the cricket nets, which are like the batting cages.
Okay.
So I'll go down with my friends a couple, like maybe once a fortnight, and have a little hit there, which is nice because you can go down after work. You're done in an hour and a half, have a couple of beers, and there's no standing around hoping the ball doesn't come to you when you're daydreaming.
Yeah. Damn, man. That's awesome. I'm gonna do my own research, more research about it. When writing the book, I know you mentioned that your publisher was recommending you to do these things. Is that kind of like your corporate experience? Like you have this book, you take it to the publisher, and they're like, change this stuff, or they have who has the say over like the book? Is it the publisher, or like what is
Yeah,
that?
I luckily we didn't get to into like any total loggerhead situations where it was, like anyone had to have a final say. It was a bit of ebb and flow. I did have to
Mm,
change some stuff. Actually, the hardest part in my experience was the legal edit. They were worried about like everyone suing me. I guess I shot from the hip while I was writing it, and said some like not stuff that was especially incendiary, but they were just some of that stuff they were like, you can't say this because we're going to get sued. And
mm,
I think there you have to like exercise some discretion. So some of the stuff I fought them on and was able to kind of fight my corner and get stuff kept in the book. Other times I had to say, look, fair enough, I'd rather it stayed, but you got to do what you got to do. So yeah, the it's funny because like I always thought once you submitted the book to the publisher, like your work was done and they just take it from there. But I actually had found out it's quite a protracted process that like, yeah, getting that draft across is just kind of the first step. And then there's all sorts of other shit you got to go through after that.
Damn, yeah. And then when you publish it, you give it to the publisher. Is it like how does the like the pay like the money, the finance part work for it? They give you like a lump sum of money to in order to like sell the book, or do you get paid off of per sale, or how does the money
So
come
it's
in?
kind of like I think how it works in lots of other creative industries. Certainly, I think the same as it works in music. So you get an advance, uh, which is either small or big, depending on how many books they think you're going to sell. And so that money they give to you up front. So say your advance is like £5,000, that goes into your bank account before the book has been released. But then until that £5,000 has been paid off, you don't see any money off the book sales. So the you have to work your advance off before you start earning from sales, and then once your advance is through, you start getting a percentage of every sale. But as I found out, publishers take the lion's share, especially with first time authors who don't have a name,
Mm,
and it's a tricky situation because you work hard on something and then you realize that someone else is taking most of the money from it. uh but like, you've got limited options. You can self-publish, but then you're going it alone. You've got to be involved in the manufacturing, the distribution. There's a lot of stuff to think about. And I mean, I still think that the biggest role that publishers and record labels and movie studios play is kind of as like tastemakers for people who don't have time or can't decide what they want to read and what they want to like, like having the endorsement of a major label or a studio or a big publishing house. Like for me, having Penguin on the front of the book was like a huge thing. And I guess it instantly tells people that your product is of a certain quality,
yep.
uh, which I guess, the consumer wants when there's so much content out there. It's like, but it's tricky, man. And I think that a lot of creative people want to sort of figure out whether you can live in a world without these kind of big
Hmm.
corporate entities who are oftentimes taking a lot of the money without being part of the creative process necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, it's funny you mentioned that because it's happening, especially in the YouTube space. Like a lot of these bigger YouTube creators, like at first, I think, and I could be wrong, so people listening don't come after me, but like before YouTube and social media became a thing, like big creators would like partner with like these other brands to help sell more products and get paid commissions or whatever. Now you see like these big creators, they're just starting their own publishing company. They're starting their own stuff. So I think the creators are getting more, maybe less reliant on the music labels, the publishing companies, those kind of things.
Totally, man. And you see quite a lot of big like music artists now, right? Releasing stuff through their own label.
Yeah.
I think like Chance the Rapper is someone who I feel like he's like never been signed to a major label, and has always kind of put stuff out himself. I might be wrong about that, but yeah, it's cool to see that there's kind of like, I guess, a more DIY kind of thing starting to happen. But I guess the problem is that for that to work, you kind of already got to have the audience, right? Otherwise, you're relying on people discovering you, and it's that kind of needle in the haystack thing.
Yep. 100%. Got to have that audience because obviously these big creators have huge audiences, and anything they put out usually like sells out just because they can make a video and million of people will go watch it. It would be a little bit harder for somebody like myself. Like I'm gonna make a candy product, or nobody's gonna fucking buy that. Nobody knows who I am. So, and that's just the importance of like. And I used to be on the other fence about it. Like didn't really care so much of like building an audience. But now, as I'm getting more developed in my like personal business career and entrepreneurship, especially in the online space, dude, having an audience is like don't phrase it the wrong way, but like it done correctly could be like an unlimited like money glitch. If you like if you have a big audience and you can make things that the audience actually wants and is willing to pay for, you can just keep doing that, bro. It's like the power of just having a big audience is
It's
I'm
huge,
learning that.
right, man? And ultimately, like as creators, you make stuff because you want people to consume it, right? Like if I wrote a book and 5 people read it, what's the point of going through the work unless it's, unless people are going to be able to engage with it? So you got to have that audience. Otherwise, you're just putting stuff out into an echo chamber for the sake of it.
As much as I love doing these podcasts virtually, I much rather sit down and talk to somebody one-on-one in person. I can look at them, I can feel the energy that they're giving off, and it's just a better vibe. So if you know anybody that would be interested or that would be a good guest for the podcast show, please get us in contact, put us together, or just relay them my information. I would love to sit down and talk to them. And with that, I will continue to do my best to improve my podcasting skills and my interviewing skills to one day bring on bigger guests that you would love to see me collab with.
Yeah. But that's what's crazy is like the other side of it, like everybody started just putting stuff out into the echo chamber.
Yeah. And there's some really cool stories. Like, have you ever seen that documentary Searching for Sugar Man?
No, searching for Sugar
About
Man. Let me write that down.
Yeah, check it out. It's great, man. It's about a musician. I can't remember. I think it's called Rodriguez, uh, who was. I'm gonna bungle this story because I watched this film like 10 years ago. But he was around in the 70s or 80s, and somehow his record became huge in South Africa. But like he never had the profile, and then he became suddenly people discovered him really late in life.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it's a cool documentary. I recommend it.
yeah. And that's actually funny that you brought that up because my mind when you were talking about how you went to like film school and did a little bit of like video production. Did you ever think about doing like a documentary about like you're writing the Sri Lanka cricket history? That would be
Yeah,
sick.
I did actually, man. And just before COVID struck and I had to go back to the UK, I was talking to the International Cricket Council about doing this documentary, like about cricket in the north of Sri Lanka, which is like the most war-torn area, and at that stage hadn't produced like a national player for coming up to 50 years. So I was going to go up and look at like how cricket was developing in that area. So I was really sad that that didn't come into being because of circumstances, but I think it's a really cool idea. This is something I want to do down the line, is to like write a book and film everything while I'm writing it. So you've got a documentary and a book that go hand in hand together, and you can put them out together. I've always thought that's like a great idea.
Yeah.
You got to find the right book to do it on. I think it works really well if you're telling kind of like a travel story.
Yeah. But
So
I
yeah,
think
maybe
the
that.
Sri Lanka would be cool.
Yeah, the Sri Lanka could have been cool. I actually was thinking a few years back about doing a book about American cricket, and
Mm.
because there was so much money being invested in it at the time, and my plan was to like just move to America and travel around in a van and like find people playing cricket anywhere I could and film it. But then I realized that I was like 30 and I needed to do stuff for my career, not go and live in a van for like 3 years and make no money. But
Right.
yeah, maybe that's one I can revisit in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. And if you ever need a hand, I'm always down to hold a camera and as a creator, bro, creators just like to create and be a part of other creations.
Totally.
Like, and I figured out I'm starting to learn, not a downfall, but one thing that I have to like start to realize with myself is all these projects and creative ventures, like you can't jump in and do all of them because it's going to take away from the ones that really matter. And that's the thing for me, like all these ideas, like I'm really good at like somebody has some ideas, like just getting started. Like a lot of people have trouble like getting started. Like I'm really good at like getting the ball going. And then it's like, oh, another idea over here. Like, oh, this ball is going. Let's put that on pause and let's go try this thing out over here. And you just can't. I mean, you can't. I won't say you can't, but like it's a little bit tougher when you're juggling 30 different things rather than just pushing one thing up. So that's as a creator, a lot of people fall into that.
100%, man. I think having that creative spark can be a blessing and a curse. And I'm not sure I got it because I'm often like, I don't have any good ideas. And then I'll have one, I'll get obsessed with it for like 48 hours and then it's gone again.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, the cricket thing, super interesting. What led you after that process and that, I would say, moment in your life? Where did you take off next? Did you continue writing books? Did you switch to something else?
So, I mean, I was really unsure when I published the book what I wanted to do, Noah. And I was kind of like, I don't want to write another book. But then it did a lot better than I'd anticipated here. I guess critically, it won sort of 3 or 4 prizes for like Cricket Book of the Year, which
Oh yeah,
was
that's right. How does that work? Is it like somebody like you get an email saying congratulations, or do you like show up to a red carpet event? Is there
yeah,
interviews and
kind of.
like
So the first one I won was by this company called Wisdom, and so I'll just show you, Noah. So like Wisdom is this thing. It's like the cricket Bible. So they release this book every year, going back to like the 1800s, and people
wow,
sell full sets now for hundreds of thousands of pounds.
wow.
But they release this book every year, which just has like a record of everything that's happened in cricket that year. And every book that is published in England about cricket is automatically submitted to like be in their book prize, and there's a big piece about all the books that have been written that year. And so like yeah, it was around this time of year 3 or 4 years ago I just got this email from my it was from my publisher. Actually, it was from the publicist at my publisher, and he said, "You've won Wisdom Book of the Year." And I was just I was actually like, bro, I think you've made a mistake. I was like, I don't think so. Do you want to go back and check? And
Right, right.
he was like, here's the email, you've won. But the way it works is they tell you that you've won in December, but you can't tell anyone until this book comes out, which is in
Mm.
April. So I had like 4 or 5 months where obviously I like told everyone who I knew. and, and then was panicking that someone was going to tell someone, and it was like I was going to get barred, which thank God like didn't happen. But that was just like the biggest pinch me moment. And then a couple more followed, and it just yeah, it was totally crazy. Yeah, I like I was just like so overjoyed that someone wanted to publish my book. And then I was put on the short list of another prize. I was like, being on the short list is incredible, and then to win and be recognized was yeah, just like very humbling, totally beyond my wildest expectations or hopes. So that was really nice, and that I guess kind of like pushed me a little bit more into writing about cricket and wanting to write more books. So I guess like that was like, yeah, I just carried on writing. There've been a couple of abortive book projects. So like I started working on stuff and then it just wasn't quite
Mm.
working. And I've either shelved them or put them right into the trash. I tried another TV show, which like I still think it's one to kind of go back to, but it took a while for me to find my next project, man. And I think Paul was the first like thing that I really engaged with after the book and was like, this is great, and I
Mm.
know that I want to write this. And then not long after I met Paul, I was introduced by a friend to a Sri Lankan chef, a guy called Rishi Nalendra, who has like the most amazing story. He's the first Sri Lankan to win some Michelin stars. He had one at his old restaurant. He's got 2 Michelin stars at his new restaurant in
Wow.
Singapore. It's not that new. And he kind of worked his way up, like he moved to Australia when he was 18 because, stuff was hard in Sri Lanka with the war. And he basically found out that if he did a hospitality degree in Australia, he could get residency there. So he started, doing this hospitality degree. He started out washing pots in pubs and like worked his way up from there to being like a total fine dining wizard. So yeah, a friend introduced us and we decided we were going to do a book together, which is like it's somewhere between a cookbook and an autobiography. So it's, I guess, like the story of his
Interesting.
life told through 40 recipes, which mean a lot to him. And then there's some short stories in there as well. There's some like little extracts from people who are important in his life, and like, some beautiful photography of Sri Lanka and stuff. So we're
Wow.
working on that. We're hoping that's going to be out next year. And that's been a really, really cool project, because one of the things I loved most about Sri Lanka was the food. And so being able to kind of like I guess like just dig under the surface of that a bit deeper. And
Yeah.
and also like, again, like the same thing with Paul, like, writing can be a very, very solitary process. So getting the chance to collaborate
Mm,
with someone who's equally invested as you, and who you can like bounce ideas off, and you can have that kind of interplay, which often like you're just having with yourself, and you feel like you're going crazy and that you
right.
can't. And yeah, and you like, there comes to a stage, I always think, when you're writing a book, that you've been looking at these words for so long that you can't see the wood through the trees. You're like, is this
Mm,
good? Is this rubbish? I've got no idea anymore, because I've read these words over and over again so many times that at this stage I don't even know what good is. So to have someone who's there with you like every step of the way, who can come up with ideas, or say, why don't you think about this, or you can, like that interplay, I think is really lovely. And Rishi's become a great friend. I went to go and stay with him in Singapore in the summer, which was super nice. I got to eat at his restaurants, which was amazing. And then he was in London a couple of weeks ago. And we did some fun stuff while he was here. So yeah, that's been a very, very cool project. Again, I really like that, like, as with the Sri Lanka book and as with Paul's book, it kind of came to me, and I've always had this thing about letting life direct you, and being pretty fluid, because I think like as humans we love to think that we have this sort of agency, and that we control our lives and we control everything around us, but
yeah.
so much of what we experience and of our world is out of our hands, right? And so I think that like being guided by life and flowing along that river is very cool. And yeah, and I like that it's taken me to some nice places.
Yeah. Damn. This sounds so fucking sick, bro. If there was a book, it does, dude. Like, even you just going to, maybe I'm just easily like odd, but like Sri Lanka and Singapore and like that's crazy. And if you guys ever want to do a documentary, bro, give me a call. I would love to help facilitate all of that.
Oh man, that would be great. And I was
That'd be
saying
a
to Rishi the other day that we need to get him on screen, because he's an incredible character as well, and he paints as well as cooks. He paints these beautiful canvases. So yeah, a documentary would be really great.
yeah, and I love that I think that's a great dynamic for a book is like these 40 recipes and each recipe is like a experience in his life and it goes into this recipe and I can in my head I can see like how I would frame it and it just looks beautiful.
Yeah, man, I think like we were definitely looking to do something that was a bit different from like a conventional cookbook. And I think actually increasingly all cookbooks need to do different stuff, because these days if I want a recipe, I'll look on the internet, right? Like
Every time.
I've got cookbooks in my kitchen and I haven't opened one of them for like a good few years, because yeah, they're like it's the nature. The internet has affected content. But so I think if you're writing a cookbook, it has to have more than just recipes. And Rishi had an
Mm,
incredible story that really resonated with me, and he wanted to do it this way. And it, like, yeah, I think eventually we kind of pushed it further towards biography than cookbook. But like it's I don't know, so much of your memory works through senses, right? And food's a
mm,
massive part of that. I don't know about but I can remember like the process of eating certain things right back to, very, very early years. And so the way that you can like explore memory and look back on your life through food and the dishes that have shaped you, I guess, especially when, you're a
yeah,
chef and
that's
cooking I think up until recently, like I think it's kind of changed in the last 5 years, but when Rishi was coming through, cooking still had this like kind of like macho masochistic streak. I don't know if you've ever read Bourdain's book.
I'm familiar
I
with
think it's
who he
called
is.
Kitchen Confidential. But like, yeah, it's always been, like male dominated, and you've had to like work these incredibly long hours and grind to grow and to succeed. And so there's something very interesting there.
Mm, absolutely. If there was any book on any topic that you could write, what would you do?
Whoa, that's a question. Has it?
Any
There's
location?
any like? Oh, it's so hard, man. I would love to write. I want to write a great like. I'd love to write a great novel
Mm,
before I leave this earth. I love like
fiction,
I'd love to write.
nonfiction?
I'd love to write a fiction like a. I always had this idea. About like a yeah like kind of like I love City of God is one of my favorite movies, and I've always wanted to do something similar to that captures like a
Mm,
bit of history, a bit of gangster culture. Yeah, something like that would be amazing. But there's so many stories that I'd love to tell. It's just
yeah,
finding the time and the scope and sometimes the money, right? Because like as we've discussed, these things can take a long time to come into being, and then you got to sell enough copies for to make it worthwhile.
yeah. Well, when you're getting these awards, is that like a life-changing moment, like financially and just with opportunities?
Sadly, not, man, but they come with some nice little checks, and
Okay, okay.
it's like not life changing money, but money that for me meant a lot and was like allowed me to do stuff, and it definitely like it helps you to get your foot in the door of places, especially in terms of like cricket writing and sports writing. I think I've had opportunities come my way since that certainly wouldn't have without that.
Mm, interesting. Because yeah, on the outside looking in, like somebody like myself that hasn't written a book or any of the book things, you would think like, oh, you see a book on Amazon, it's like, wow, that guy must be very successful and well off, and or these awards, you like, oh man, like he's
No,
next
like
level
public service announcement, do not write a book to make money.
now. Yeah,
Do anything else, honestly, anything apart from writing books, if you want to get rich, unless you're like JK Rowling.
yeah, right. Which is crazy. Sorry, just 1 second, brother. I'm gonna run to the bathroom if that's okay.
Oh, good, Noah.
Okay, real quick. Put this mic down. I've been trying to increase my water intake, bro, and it's just like
Oh
always
no, it's
running to the bathroom.
coming out the bladder.
Yeah, man.
I was gonna head out and come back to Julia's. I was
All right, brother. Sorry about that.
Oh, good man.
And please don't let me. If you have other things to be doing rather than sitting here chatting with me, we can wrap up and run whenever you're ready.
No, man, it's a pleasure. I got a little bit more time.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Just to pick off where we left off. Now that we're back from the bathroom, do you think with all the experiences in travel and the successes you had with the books, do you feel like you're at the part in your life like where you how do I phrase this? Right now where you are in life, did you see or envision yourself being here? Like obviously not sitting here talking to me, but like traveling the world, meeting these people, writing these books, these awards, like did you envision that when you were
No,
younger?
man. Like, not at all. I don't think if you'd asked me, like, when I was 18, that this was the way that my life was going to end up, I think I would, like, be like, no, I don't think I'd have any idea that this was where I was going. But I think,
Mm,
like, I often have this debate with myself, and I'm like, I think if 18-year-old me could see where 35-year-old me was, he'd probably go, yeah, cool. I'm glad I'm there.
yeah, I think about that stuff too sometimes because especially where I'm in today, I did not think growing up that I honestly didn't think I was gonna like grow past like the age 25. I don't know why. Maybe it's just my environment and I don't know. I just really didn't envision past the age of 25. And now sitting here, I haven't had like any crazy successes like awards or anything that have been given to me, but just I think about that kind of stuff a lot. Do people like where we are today? Like, for instance, are you happy with where you are today, or would you see yourself like at a different position?
Uh, I think it's always difficult to judge, right? I'm proud of what I've done so far, but I've got a lot more that I want to achieve. And I don't think that you ever, like, no matter who you are or what you do, ever reach kind of that there-ness. I think you're always striving to,
Mm,
yeah, always learning, always striving, always trying. And yeah, I got a lot more that I want to do. Uh, so yeah, we'll see.
yeah, and you say that with like conviction, but like a lot of people don't think like that. A lot of they're in their 35s, like, oh man, I'm good. Like I don't want to try new things. Like I don't want to take any more risks. Or some people are good with where they're at. So that's why I like to hear
Yeah,
that we have
I
similar
think,
mindsets.
and I think that I've forced myself to be a risk taker because I was like, I can't work an office job. I can't be in the corporate world. I guess because I was like rebellious when I was a kid, or I was just like, I don't want to do that stuff. And,
Mm,
as you get older, there are those times where you're like, I wish I had the stability of, a steady paycheck, or like, a company behind me that gave me sick days when I'm not feeling well. But then
right.
I know that I'd be completely creatively stifled, and that I couldn't take on the kind of adventures that I do, and that I wouldn't be like able to do stuff which I've
Mm,
chosen to do, right? Like, at the end of the day, I think no matter what you do, there are days where you like don't love doing it, right? Where you want to stay in bed and watch TV, but like when you've chosen to do something, when you know that ultimately you're doing that project for a reason, uh it's easier to stomach, right?
yeah, absolutely. And most days I feel like that. Like I'm tired. Like even this morning, bro. Like I stayed up late last night trying to put a podcast out and edit a YouTube video. And this morning, bro, I was fucking tired, but I got up and continued to do it because for one, I love what I do, and like you said, you said it perfectly. Is there anything that you would have changed in like your life, not just in the book world, but like just in general? Like, maybe I would have. For me, like maybe I would have took my finances. Um, like I would have. I don't know, like at a younger age, your parents are giving you money for the movies and all this stuff. And I was like, I came home with $0. Every time I left the house, I came home with $0. So like for one thing, if I were to change, it was like, maybe I'd take finances a little bit more seriously. Do you have anything in your life that like, not bad, but like, oh, knowing what I know now, I probably would have did that differently.
Yeah, man, I think that's like the same. I could have been more financially savvy when I was a little younger. I think I could have been a bit less rebellious, had bit
Yeah, same.
a bit less of a like fuck you attitude towards every, like, I'm going to do this my way, and like whatever
Yep.
you think is like, yeah, whatever you're telling me, I don't care. I'm not doing it. I don't play by your rules. I'm actually going to be different just to piss you off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, dude.
and I think ultimately like that is born out of a bit of immaturity, right? And yeah, you can follow your own path without necessarily being a rebel for the sake of it.
Mm.
So yeah, that's something. It's so hard, man, to say. Like, I regret. I've just started DJing, and I love it more than anything. And I'm like, why didn't I take this up 15 years ago? Uh,
Yep.
I wish I'd partied more.
Really? More? You should
Yeah,
have hung out with
more.
Paul Harrington, bro.
Because I mean, maybe if I'd partied more, I wish I'd party less. But you
Yeah.
know, now I'm getting old, and it feels like that sort of phase is not
Mm.
behind me, but definitely receding. And
Mhm.
I'm not sure I want it to. And so, like, yeah, but I think no matter how you live your life, you'll always look back and think, could I have done this differently? I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd done this. And I
Mm.
guess that's like one of the kind of beautiful tragedies, one of the like great poignancies about life, is that every decision you make has that knock-on impact, and you always go through life thinking, if I turned left there instead of right, what might have been.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people have, we all have those things in our life. Um, if I were wanting to, after this podcast, if I were like super inspired, I left here and I was like, you know what? Nick has inspired me. I'm going to go write a book. What would be the number one tip you would give for me
Don't give
or
up
anybody with
right, like, don't
Mm.
give up right every day. Words, like, you know if you can churn out 1,000 words a day, you get there faster than you think.
Mm.
Although it's interesting though, because like, when I was in Sri Lanka, so it's funny. It's a funny story. Basically, my book, I don't think, would have got published if it weren't for a super random interaction where I met a cricket writer at a game of cricket, and he said, "Can I introduce you to my agent?" And basically, like, when this happened, I was going through a stage where I was watching a lot of cricket, and I was having this kind of internal battle with myself where I was like, dude, you gotta chain yourself to the desk and churn out the words. And I'd been to a game of cricket the day before. I had the debate that morning of, I don't know whether I should go to this match because I should be at my laptop doing my 1,000 daily words. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the match. Then I met this guy, and that one interaction probably changed the course of my life. If I hadn't made that connection, I still think that my book could be just a Word document on my laptop. So I guess, while I'm saying, you got to be committed and you've got to churn it out, don't let it get in the way of the world. Like, if you're like, for me, if I'm writing a book about cricket, surrounding yourself with cricket is like a great thing to do, right? And I always think that those moments where you meet people often tend to be what like sparks the biggest breakthrough. So while you got to have that work
Mm.
ethic, and while you got to have that discipline, you've also kind of like, it's a horrible way of phrasing it because I never think about it like this, but try and build a network, or try and go out there and just like meet people and talk to them and connect with people. Because like, yeah, I think ultimately, that horrible hackneyed phrase, it's who you know, not what you know. But like, this
So
cliche thing.
true.
Yeah.
It's so
I
true.
wish it
I'm starting
wasn't,
to
but it
learn that.
is.
I know, right? Because I can fucking learn a lot of stuff. I could go to sleep tomorrow and I can know more stuff, but that's not gonna change my life. Rather than like you
So
said, which is like I love those kind of stories because I've had a few instances like that, but I know like it's just crazy to hear that you weren't going to go there, you happened to do that, and then look what came out of it.
Yeah, man. And I mean, like, I guess those are the kind of moments that like make you think a bit more broadly about like maybe there's some kind of, like the destiny, I guess, for want of a better word, or some kind of spiritual, like that everything's supposed to happen the way it does. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I do believe that too. And speaking of, I have another question from Paul Harrington. Had to save a good one for the end here. All right, where's he at? Sorry, I just got to source it. Paul, he can send a lot of stuff quickly. Um, sorry.
Take your time, man. I know that what it's like scrolling through messages. So I actually briefly know before you came onto the scene, I was helping Paul with his Instagram, and that was the time when my phone was just exploding. I was like, did I get more popular overnight? And then it was like, no, I've just got sort of 57 messages from Paul in the last like 3 minutes.
Yeah. Do you do any like social media? Like as you're writing these books, I would think like as I'm working with Paul, like the thing was like in my head, like the bigger the audience you have, the more books that you can sell. So like obviously our goal on social media is to try to get people to like, know, and trust him. Do you put any attention into that as I look for this
I do
message?
like bits and bobs. Like so Twitter's I guess a big one for the cricket community,
Mm.
and like I got a little bit of Twitter, but I struggle to keep up with it, man. I know you shouldn't see it this way, but I view it as kind of a bit of a necessary evil, uh, and I don't love posting all the time. It's something definitely that I could get better at because in the modern world, publishing companies are looking at it more and more, and they want authors, especially non-fiction authors, who've got like that inbuilt audience, right? Because if you've got 100,000 followers who you can instantly connect with via a tweet, it saves them a lot of work, and it like you've instantly got a massive reach.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, that makes sense, honestly. Dang. I think the message must have got lost in the conversations that we have. But no, man, I appreciate all the knowledge and like I really like these type of episodes I love doing because they're just so raw and authentic and super inspiring. Just hearing like other people's everybody is on a different path in life. And we all think, like, even for myself, I'm in my head, like, am I going the right direction? Am I doing what I'm naturally good at doing? Like, I have all these thoughts. And then just hearing other people's stories that, trials and tribulations to hear, like, they kept pushing through and, like, just from talking to you and meeting you, this is our first time meeting, like, I feel the energy that you're giving off, like, I can't really articulate into words, but like it's like it rubs off on people that listen and to watch these. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you so much for having me on. And I think like it's always nice to know that like you go through this stuff and that no matter what path people are on, as you put it, no, like everyone's kind of going through the same shit, right? And everyone's like figuring stuff out and trying to find their place in the world or trying to be a better person or whatever it might be. But everyone's on that journey, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in your own stuff and like forget that. And so like I think making those kind of connections is very important, and if more people were like more conscious of that, I feel like there'd be less drama and discord in the world.
Yeah, honestly. And I got one more final question just because I feel like I've been asking this a lot and I'm really interested. You're a very like well spoken and well articulated guy. How did you were you always a good speaker and you're very smart, your choice of words are really good. Obviously you have a writing background, but like how were you always like a great speaker like this? And if not, like how did you get to this level of like you just
Uh,
articulate so well?
I think I've always been good at writing. Whether it was as natural with speaking, I'm not sure. I think it's improved as I've done lots of podcasts or public speaking, that kind of thing over the past few years. But I got a big up Mumsy, man. Mum was like pushing me from day one, and she she claims that I was reading three-letter words when I was two. I think that's some bullshit because I've never heard anything like that. But yeah, she was like really I guess what I don't know how to phrase it, but she encouraged me academically
Yeah.
and she tried to stimulate my imagination. She was always like very hot on me reading. She used to march me to the piano every day and force me to play practice for half an hour. And if she saw that I was interested in something, she would always try and nurture it. And like, yeah, she was like, she's a huge presence in my life to this day. She's amazing, amazing lady, and she encouraged me a lot. And yeah, without that, I don't think I'd be anywhere.
What does she think about your successes in the book world?
Oh man, she is my biggest PR agent. She's yeah, she's very proud and I to the point of embarrassment, and she knows now because I'll send her something and now she'll ask, she'll be like, is it okay if I send this on to like my family and friends? Which is incredibly sweet. And it was actually really cool because so like me and my brothers and my dad at home a lot of the time will have sport on the TV, and she's kind of suffered in silence for many years. But when I wrote this book, she was like, I'm gonna read it. And she was like, oh, I really love it. And now she started to take more of an interest in cricket, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Shouts out to our parents, bro.
Yeah, and actually, my mum, my dad, with a dedication in the front of my book. I said to dad, who put a bat in my hand, and to mum, who made sure there was always a pen in it. And so, yeah, the two of them have influenced me a lot. And yeah, shout out to mum and pops.
Yeah. Damn, man. That's beautiful. I love how you said that. I got a bat in one hand and a pencil in the other hand. That's awesome. I'm sure they're super proud of you, bro. So again, Nick, thanks for sharing all the knowledge and your life experiences with us, man. I really appreciate it. I'm sure there's some listeners here that will see this as very not just inspiring, but motivational too, to like, we're all going through shit, man. We just gotta keep doing it. And it's important to do what you love, because without that, you would wake up when your girlfriend left that day, if you weren't inspired or passionate about this or loved it, you would have just laid in bed and, you know.
Quit, man. 100%. Yeah. If you're doing something that you love, you've always got that motivation to push forward. And no, thank you so much for having me on, Noah, and for the kind words, man. It's incredibly kind, and it's been really, really lovely connecting.
Absolutely, man. And we're gonna stay up to date on all thing Nick's Brookes. I'll put links into your book on Amazon in the show
Oh, dude,
description below
very
if
kind.
anybody's interested in reading any of your books. And yeah, I would love to revisit this later in the future. You know, when you got some more awards to brag and boast to us. I would love to bring
100%,
it
man. I
back.
don't know about the future awards, but if you'll have me back, I'm here anytime.
Yeah, man. Because I'm sure you're going to continue to write these great books, and I'm not much of a reader myself, but I learn through these interactions like this. So we're gonna do it again soon, bro. I appreciate you.
I hope so, Noah. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, man.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.
And seriously, thank you guys so much for the love and the support of not only just a podcast, but my creative career, is if you want to call it that. I appreciate you guys for watching. I hear all the time people are, where's the podcast? Where's the YouTubes? And just know I do appreciate it, and it means a lot. So thank you guys all for watching my videos, and we'll see you in the next episode.